All right, Adam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am Adam Widder. Um, right now I'm with, well, is that all you want me to say? I'm Adam Widder with, or what do you want me to do?
Yeah, go ahead and tell us who you are, where you came from, service.
Sure. Yeah, I am Adam. I was originally, did my service out of Fort Riley, Kansas, and 1ID. Did the whole ROTC thing, went to school across the river at Wisconsin Stout, did criminal justice because that's what you do when you're in ROTC. So you can get a really good GPA and then you can score really well. That's what they told us to do. No, I wanted eventually to become an FBI agent and could have done that career path after the Army, but my life design took me in other ways. So did the Army for 4 years. Knew it wasn't for us because we didn't want to jump around so much. We kind of wanted to dig our roots here in Minnesota, and the rest is history, really. Then that's when my job transition kind of took over. Um, my job transition, I think, like many, was not what I expected. And that's kind of what I'm passionate about today is helping people find their why, because I think that's kind of the start point. And if you don't start there, you end up just chasing all these non-productive tasks and things, and you get sideways and you go after the shiny object and it just never works out. And then the key stat, I don't know what it is today, but when I was in transition, they said like 90% of veterans change their jobs after their first year in the industry. And I was just like, ugh, why would anybody want to go through a transition twice? Like that just sounds terrible. And so I was like, I want to avoid that. And so that became kind of my goal, to really fall in love with a career and a job. And contrary, the stats are the stats for a reason. And so there I was. I did my first job and did not like it. But I was lucky because it was an internship. I had the unique opportunity to do what is called Hiring Our Heroes. It's a program completely funded by DoD. You have to do it while you're active. So if any of you are still active, shoot me a text after and let's get you into that program because it's a good opportunity. But basically, you do 3 months in a company of your choice in the location of your choice, and you get to work for them while you're getting paid on active duty. So that was really sweet because I could basically learn or try out, test drive an industry and see if I liked it. And 98% of the applicants get a job offer from the company that they work with. So I did that with Pepsi in Burnsville, and I got a job offer at the end of it, true to the program. And that should have cured my secondary fear of not having a job when I got out of the military, because I think that's like what many people do fear is, how do I keep the standard of living going? How do I make X dollars? How do I match the salary I made in the Army? Because, I think when you're in the Army or in the military, you don't really correlate that you are making good money, but in reality you are. Like you're very much middle class. Once you're not in the E4 mafia and you're making NCO pay, you're living pretty good. But I would argue even for an 18, 19-year-old, you're making good money. You have the best benefits in the world. So, and you start to realize that as you get older. So how do you continue your standard of living? So I got offered that job, and it would have replicated my salary as a captain in the Army, making like 80K a year and having all sorts of great benefits. It would have been great. But I turned it down because I didn't like it. So there I was, didn't have that job, was part of that statistic. Alan just posted 65%. So 65% of people change their jobs after a year. I was now a part of that. And I had to go about the whole job transition. What do I actually want to do? And that's kind of what I want to focus on is how do you find your passion? How do you find your why? I think it's so difficult. I'm probably still trying to find it. I'm 29, right? Like how could I say I'm in my passion? Alan, are you in your passion? I don't know. maybe you are in Eagle Group, I don't know. Anyways, so that's where it kind of intersects with finding your passion. Also, there's that correlation, like your passion could be basket weaving, but unless you're the best basket weaver in the world, you're not going to make a lot of money. And we need to make money in order to fund our lives and fund the things that we do. But you also shouldn't work your life away making a ton of money for the man. You should also enjoy that. So finding that intersection was super important to me, and I didn't want to waste that. So there I was. I needed to figure out, but I didn't want to be too stressed about it. So what I came up with was a plan. All right, let's give myself some runway. Let's give myself the freedom to think. And so when we were in the military, I'll back up a little bit. We didn't want that stat. We didn't want to be part of the 65%. So we saved up 6 months of financial runway. So we saved up that time to have that freedom to go after a job. So I had the power to say no to a job I didn't like, which is why I said no to Pepsi. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be doing that. Saved up those 6 months of expenses for what the cost of living would be in Minnesota. So I'm like, all right, if we have to rent an apartment, our groceries, what's our gas cost, all those things. And we came up with a number and we saved that as a rainy day. If that sounds crazy, you need to get out of debt first and get to those things, do the whole Dave Ramsey thing, get yourself out of debt, then save that amount up. And then you can have kind of that first level of financial freedom to really feel like you can say no and have that power. So we turned down that job offer, and then it was kind of this game of where do I want to go from here? And that's where finding my why became so important. I leaned on Eagle Group, had basically just reversed the roles. I became the interviewer and just started interviewing so many people, but I ended up chasing down these rabbit holes of jobs I thought would make like a ton of money, or jobs that I thought would be interesting, which was the good thing to do. But I was mostly chasing the dollars. And I think a lot of us do that is because we're in the military and we hear, yeah, you're going to make 100K weaving baskets. Like, it's crazy how much money you make. And the reality is you work really hard and you might not make that kind of money. So you do have to find your passion. You do have to work hard to find where that can intersect, and you're not paid, not all the times your skills are going to correlate into that 6-figure job. So how do you get back to the dollars that you want where that passion is? So anyways, finding that passion, finding where the dollars made sense to me. I was looking at insurance because my sister worked in insurance and had interviews with travelers here in town. Nothing ever panned out. Went into looking at banking at US Bank and Wells Fargo, got offered a job at Wells Fargo, but I was in the interview and I was like, this job's not for me. They ended up offering me, I turned it down. And so there I was, but I kept always looking at these jobs on LinkedIn, and they were all real estate focused. But in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I don't have a niche of experience in real estate. Like, I'm a MP officer in the Army. Like, how am I supposed to correlate that to be a real estate guy? Like, that's just so far-fetched. And that's when, the power of Eagle Group really helped out, because Alan and some of the other guys are like, well, let's look at the resume and then let's look at what the job description says. And so we kind of correlated those things. We said, okay, it says, manage this process, be able to do a budget, all these basic project management stuffs that you do every day in the military. So we just took my resume and we tweaked those comments. So we just, reworded the resume into what my experience says, and lo and behold, I do have the experience. And then it's just selling yourself and being a good salesperson in the interview. And I did that. And so I ended up looking at jobs, and literally the first one that I applied for, I got an interview. I think that was just the universe, God showing me, hey, this is the path you need to go on. Had a great interview, really good. Went back for a second and a third. They ended up going with somebody else. But, then it was just all these doors kept opening. Had some more and more great conversations as I was networking within the real estate industry here in the Twin Cities. And then finally at the Eagle Group golf outing, actually, I met a guy from US Bank who worked in their risk department who, introduced me to a guy in their real estate department. And that guy introduced me to a local real estate firm owner, and that firm hired me as a property manager. And that was great. I was in a field that I was actually super passionate about and excited, but it didn't meet the income that I wanted or where I was at. I took a huge pay cut, like 30% pay cut, which was a big, punch downstairs to the manhood, the pride, and really wasn't enthused about that. But I had to remind myself, and one of my interview question was do you promote based on experience or aptitude? Because I knew I could learn the aptitude really quick. I knew I could, become like my peers by just being super passionate about the job. And I did. And so that's where it caught up is, when you're passionate about an industry, when you're passionate about your job, you're going to dive in. You're going to be in there. You're going to be working way harder. So your effort's going to show, and you hope that your company is going to reward you for that if they promote based on, your aptitude versus experience. While experience is required for some jobs, yes. Having the aptitude, having the desire, having the ability to learn and compete and do your job excellent is really how you should be rewarded for your job. So within 6 months, I got a 10% raise. And then within another 6 months, I got another raise and a pay grade. And that put me like a few $1,000s below what I was making in the Army. So there I was right at where I wanted to be. And I was pretty happy. So really the step-by-step process, and that got me into the real estate field, and I'll pivot here in a second, but that got me into the real estate field and really diving into my passion, the industry. My wife and I, we have a couple of rentals and we do real estate like full time now. So it really was just following that passion and trusting that the dollars would follow. And that's really hard to see at first. But again, the process was just saving up that 6 months, giving yourself the mental freedom to have the power to say no to opportunities that don't align with who you are as a person. Then it's interviewing everybody and anybody that'll take time to talk with you and interviewing them and asking them questions, doing a 20-minute network meeting, sticking to that, following up, and the jobs will come. The job that I first got was posted, but I didn't even know it was posted because it was such a small company. I ended up hearing about it, from a friend of a friend, from a friend in the networking game. So, and then further, to find that passion, I asked myself some questions: is what lights you up? Follow the fire that makes you so excited of an industry that you want to go into. That's what you need to follow. If there's a fire that says you want to go work as a basket weaver, follow that fire to figure out how you can do it, and it's going to light you up. That should then coincide with your income. Where does that follow? And I promise you, if you follow the fire for the passion, the income will eventually follow, because they're going to see that you are, you're killing it at your job. They're going to reward you, or they should. If they don't, now you have the experience over time to go pivot into another team that will pay you for your skills. And lastly, share what you're looking for. I was so hesitant to share what I was looking for. It never worked out. And so once I finally just gave in to wanting to be a part of real estate, it all just started to click. I got interviews. I met the people I should be talking with. And it really took about a month before I had a job, after I just gave in and said, I need to follow my passion. Rewinding now to today, now I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. I specialize in doing 2 to 20 unit apartment unit sales. And then we also do single family home sales and help buyers get into their properties in this crazy market. And we do a commercial, we do some management. And then my wife and I have our own portfolio that we've built up over the last few years. So that's me. That's my message. That was quick, but I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if I can be a resource for anybody, I would love to help you out.